I created Navigating Challenging Dialogue out of my own need to be able to communicate better, build stronger relationships, and have a deeper connection. I also really needed to get rid of drama and chaos in my own life. I didn't realize that I was perpetuating all of it. So I began studying emotional intelligence and all of these types of things to figure out how I can show up better, how I can communicate with more clarity, and how I can be just a better human contributing to the world. My background is pretty eclectic. I grew up in a family owned business, so there was a lot of emotion and chaos and drama happening there all the time. Then I went on to become a teacher and a school administrator. And we had, believe me, schools are fraught with conflict and miscommunication. And then I went on to work for a consulting company where we worked with schools, agencies, nonprofits, for profits, prisons, you name it, all over the United States. And our work there was really to help build better workplaces and better work cultures, places where people were happy to go to work. And I did that for 13 years. When I got ready for a change. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And people started reaching out to me saying, "Hey, Beth, can you come in and help us with communication?" And that's when I turned Navigating Challenging Dialogue into an actual program and have been doing this work since 2015. Navigating Challenging Dialogue solves the problem of miscommunication in organizations, teams, and with individuals in their personal life. When it comes down to it, we have three resources available to us. We have money, which you can raise more money, you can lower prices, cut expenses, increase revenue. There's a lot of things you can do to generate more money. And then we have skills and talents. So you can hire for skills, you can train for skills. There's lots of things you can do to increase the skillfulness of your team. The thing you can't get back once it's spent is time. Once you spend time, it's gone forever. And so the problem Navigating Challenging Dialogue solves is all that time that gets wasted in miscommunication, drama, and chaos. What I love about Navigating Challenging Dialogue is that it differs from so many of the other communication trainings that are available on the market. And the reason it does that is because Navigating Challenging Dialogue is about self. It's about how do I show up? How do I manage my emotions in a way that helps facilitate clear communication and reduces unhealthy conflict? There's so many good programs out there, but so many of them focus on how do I get the other person to behave differently? And I really want to help people get in touch with how do I show up? How do I behave in a way that facilitates trust, connection, and clear and clean communication? The Navigating Challenging Dialogue mantras are an integral part of the program. And so when you learn the Navigating Challenging Dialogue process, we really emphasize the mantras. There's 4 stages in the process. And each stage you go through, there are mantras that support you in that stage. Now, once you begin practicing and using the NCD process in your everyday life, those mantras are going to pop into your mind at certain points to remind you to breathe, to remind you to examine what are the facts, to remind you to slow down in your communication to make it as clear and clean as possible. Navigating challenging dialogue is utilized in the workplace in so many situations. It can be used to give feedback. It can be used as a tool. We have a whole framework for how to coach using navigating challenging dialogue. Navigating challenging dialogue can be used when you're doing strategic discussions and dialogues or strategic planning, when you're doing a performance review. The purpose of navigating challenging dialogue in the workplace is really to make sure that every engagement, every interaction that you are having is as clear and clean as possible so people are empowered to take action, to understand what's exactly being talked about, and to begin to engage with curiosity and ask those clarifying questions when they don't understand. I have 2 great examples of how people use NCD in their personal lives. The first one we had a woman in a training who contacted me a few days later and said to me, I go on a walk every Sunday with my 12-year-old son, and we go on a hike. And most of the time, I am trying to drag any kind of communication out of him. And he seems really annoyed with me the whole time. This time, I decided instead to use some of the curious questions that I learned in the NCD process. And I just responded to him saying, oh, that's so interesting. Tell me more. It was the best 2 hours of my life, she said to me. My son talked to me the whole time we were on the walk because I learned how to listen and how to let him know that I really see and hear him as we were doing that. The next example was at the beginning of the pandemic, we had a woman in a navigating challenging dialogue class. And the scenario that she brought to the training that she wanted help with was that she was in the final stages of her first pregnancy during the COVID pandemic. And her doctor had said to her, the only people that can come and see the baby once you have it are people who are vaccinated. And her brother was adamantly opposed to being vaccinated. They had so many really bad conversations that dissolved in a debate over vaccine or not vaccine, what is better. As I worked with her through that scenario, and we began to really identify what was the core piece that she wanted to focus on with this conversation, it was about, you're my brother. I love you. I want to share this moment with you. And you need to be vaccinated for that to happen. She emailed me a couple weeks later and told me that after they had that conversation that we worked on, he went and got vaccinated because he too wanted to be there for her during that moment. So we had a training several years ago before the pandemic, actually, and a principal from a public school traveled from Massachusetts to California to come to the training. And when he showed up, he brought a scenario with him that he was really struggling with. And through the course, through the 4 days we were there, we worked through that scenario, and it brought him a whole different perspective on that problem. But the bigger piece that none of us knew was coming was the pandemic. So schools shut down, parents were upset, teachers were uncertain, kids were having a tough time, and nobody really knew what was going to happen next. The world was very uncertain. He contacted me and said, Beth, I need you to know I was able to have authentic conversations with parents, with teachers, with everybody who was feeling so much uncertainty, even while I was feeling a lot of uncertainty. So I was able to ground myself in what the facts of the situation is, check in with what energy I was bringing to the conversations, and navigating challenging dialogue was able to help me get through the rough spots in the pandemic. I wrote Turn This Conversation Around because we're at a crossroads as a society. We don't have the skills nor the self-awareness to engage in tough conversations, especially with people with whom we don't agree. The best way to learn navigating challenging dialogue is to take one of our workshops. But because my mission is to help build trust, deeper connections, and solve challenging problems, I wanted to provide a way for everyone to easily access these tools. This book is easily readable and very engaging. It includes communication challenges that actual people have faced and demonstrates how the NCD process was applied to solve those problems. This is the official handbook of navigating challenging dialogue and gives you step-by-step instructions to use it at home and at work. You can buy it from your favorite bookseller or at ncdsolution.com.